Welcome back to the deep dive. We have got um, a really interesting stack of sources today.
We really do.
They zero in on this one, very specific and honestly a very human moment from the Gospel of Mark.
It's a passage that, it feels incredibly modern, actually.
Right.
If you've ever felt that tension between, say, needing a break,
A serious break.
a serious unplug the phone break, and then needing to be there for other people, this is going to hit home immediately.
Oh, absolutely. We are looking at a narrative from chapter 6 of Mark, specifically verses 30 through 34. Now, for everyone keeping an eye on the calendar, the source material here is the gospel reading for Saturday, February 7th.
Which puts us right on the Saturday of week 4 in ordinary time.
Yeah.
And you might, depending on your local church, you might also see optional memorials listed for the Blessed Virgin Mary or St. Gonzalo Garcia.
But the real heart of the text today is this interaction, this collision between Jesus, his exhausted team, and a very, very persistent crowd.
It's that moment we've all had. You clock out, you're heading for your quiet place, and then the phone rings.
Or in this case, the crowd literally beats you to your vacation spot. They
Yeah.
win the race to your quiet zone.
Yeah, which is just, wow.
Right. But before we get to the failed vacation, which, let's be honest, is a tragedy in itself, we need to set the scene. So, segment 1, the burnout.
The burnout. I like that.
Verse 30 starts with, the apostles returned to Jesus and told him all that they had done and taught.
Okay, so that word apostles is actually a key signal here. We shouldn't just gloss over it.
How so?
Well, Mark usually calls them disciples, which means learners or, students. But here, right here, they're called apostles, which means the sent ones.
So they've sort of graduated?
In a sense, yes. They've just come back from their first big mission, sent out 2 by 2. They weren't just watching Jesus work anymore. They were acting with his authority.
Ah, so this isn't just a casual, how was your week? This is the post-mortem after a huge product launch.
Yeah.
This is the quarterly review.
Exactly. And you have to imagine the intensity of that work. I mean, confronting illness, spiritual warfare, traveling with nothing that is physically and emotionally draining. They are running on pure adrenaline.
And the crash is coming.
The crash is definitely coming.
So they get back to headquarters expecting a breather. But the text paints this just chaotic picture. It says, for many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat.
That phrase, coming and going, it's so evocative to me.
It is.
It's not a crowd sitting quietly. It's traffic. It's the constant friction of demand. People wanting things, asking questions, needing something from you. Always.
And not having time for lunch is the universal sign for too busy. If
Yeah.
you say that, everyone knows exactly what kind of day you are having.
Right. And Jesus' reaction here is fascinating from a leadership perspective. A typical manager might say, great momentum, guys. Let's capitalize on this. Get back out there.
Strike while the iron is hot.
Exactly that. But Jesus doesn't. He sees the human limit. He looks at his team, he sees the fatigue, and he says, come away by yourselves to a desolate place and rest a while.
I want to push on that phrase, desolate place. To a modern ear, desolate sounds bad, like a wasteland. Why go there?
That's a great question. It's a translation of the Greek idea of the eremos, the wilderness. And in the Bible, the wilderness isn't just empty space, it's the place you go to encounter God.
So it's not desolate as in lonely and sad. It's desolate as in uncluttered.
Precisely. It's a sanctuary. He's prescribing a retreat. He's saying we need to go where the coming and going can't reach us.
I love that he says by yourselves. He's setting a boundary. He's closing the door to the public to protect his core team.
It shows he understands they're not just, spirits who don't need food or sleep. They are human beings who need to be restored. You can't pour from an empty cup.
So the plan is in place. They have permission to clock out. And now the execution. Segment 2, the great escape.
Or the attempt.
Right, the attempt. They get in the boat. They're crossing the Sea of Galilee. Now, geographically, is this a long trip?
Not an ocean crossing, but it's a significant distance. They're likely leaving the Capernaum area, heading for a secluded spot. In a fishing boat from that time, you're moving maybe, 3 to 5 miles per hour?
Okay, so they push off. The noise of the crowd finally fades. You can just imagine the relief, right? The water lapping against the hull. The apostles are probably leaning back, closing their eyes, thinking, finally.
It should have been the end of the shift, but this is where the story just flips.
The source material says, now many saw them going and recognized them.
The paparazzi moment, they're not anonymous anymore.
And the crowd's reaction is, frankly, it's startling. It says people ran there on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them.
Let's just break down the physics of that for a second.
Please do.
The boat is taking a straight line across the water. The crowd has to run along the shore, which is an arc.
So the crowd is traveling a longer distance.
A significantly longer distance. And not on a paved track. They're running over rocks, hills, who knows what. To beat a boat moving in a straight line, I mean, they had to be sprinting. Just absolutely booking it.
And that's what I struggle with. Why? Why run from miles around a lake just to see a guy who was just in your town?
It points to a profound desperation, doesn't it? You don't burn that kind of energy for just casual curiosity. These people are terrified of losing sight of him.
It almost feels aggressive. Like, we will not let you leave us.
It is objectively a violation of boundaries. They are, in a way, stalking him.
So put yourself in the boat. You're one of the apostles. You see this dust cloud on the distant shore and realize what's happening. What are you thinking?
Oh, I'm thinking turn the boat around.
Right. Or go to the middle of the lake, drop anchor, and wait them out.
Or just pure resentment. You know, we earned this break. We worked all week. That's the natural human response when your depletion is met with more demand.
And if Jesus had turned the boat around, no one would have blamed it.
But this brings us to the absolute pivot of the entire story. Segment 3. The moment the boat's keel hits the sand.
Verse 34. When he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion on them.
Okay, stop there. That word, compassion. We use that word a lot, and it feels a little soft, maybe a little Hallmark card.
I have a feeling the original Greek is more intense.
It is. The Greek word is splunchnismai.
Splunchnismai, that sounds biological.
It is. The root is splonchna, which means the internal organs, the guts, the bowels. For the ancients, the seat of intense emotion wasn't the heart, it was your gut.
So this is visceral.
Extremely. It means to be physically moved, almost sick with love or pity. It's a punch to the stomach. It's that feeling you get when you see someone you love get hurt and you feel it in your own body.
So when Jesus steps off that boat and sees the people who just ruined his vacation, he's not just thinking, oh, that's a shame. He is physically moved by their presence.
Exactly. And normally an interruption like that does give you a punch to the stomach, but it's stress, it's anger.
It's ulcers.
Right. But for Jesus, the reaction turns outward. Their need is overwhelming, not my time is being stolen.
And the text tells us exactly why he felt that way. It gives us that simile.
Yeah.
Because they were like sheep without a shepherd.
And this is the key that unlocks everything. This isn't just a fluffy pastoral image.
Right. On the surface, it sounds a little sweet. But I seem to recall that shepherd is a loaded term in the Old Testament.
It's a politically charged term. In the Hebrew scriptures, the shepherd wasn't just some guy in a field. It was the title for the king, for the leaders of Israel.
So when he says sheep without a shepherd, he's not just describing their mood. He's making a comment on the leadership of the nation.
He is indicting the current leadership. He's looking at this crowd and seeing the result of failed leadership. He's saying that Herod, the religious elites, the Romans, the people who were supposed to be shepherding have failed them. They've left the flock vulnerable.
And what happens to a sheep without a shepherd?
Everything bad. A sheep without a shepherd isn't just free. It's free to die. It has no protection from predators, no guide to water or food. It scatters. It gets lost.
So when Jesus looks at this sweaty, panting crowd, he doesn't see a mob that ruined his plans. He sees a terrified, scattering flock.
Exactly. He sees their frantic running not as an annoyance, but as a symptom of their leaderlessness. They're desperate for a center of gravity.
That is a drastic perspective shift. It changes them from annoying fan to refugee.
And that shift dictates the response, which brings us to segment 4.
The response. Because this is where the text surprises me again.
Oh, so?
Well, if I see a group of exhausted, hungry people, my first thought is food or healing. Start the miracles. But the text says, and he began to teach them many things.
He began to teach.
Teaching. Really? They just ran 5 miles. Why is a sermon the first priority?
It seems counterintuitive, right? Until you go back to the shepherd metaphor, what's the main problem for a shepherdless sheep? It's not just a lack of grass, it's a lack of direction.
So the teaching is the remedy for their lostness.
Precisely. By teaching them, he's gathering their minds. He's giving them a worldview. He is doing the work of the true shepherd by orienting them toward the truth. He's organizing the chaos inside them.
And we can't forget the apostles. They're still standing there holding the boat ropes. They still haven't eaten. Their desolate place is now a lecture hall.
I mean, it's a brutal lesson for them, honestly. But it might be the most important lesson in leadership. The lesson that the true calling is almost always inconvenient.
We talk a lot today about self-care and boundaries, which are important. But this narrative seems to challenge that a little bit.
It creates a tension, a necessary tension. Jesus did initiate the rest, he values it, but the story suggests a hierarchy of values. Rest is good, but the urgent, desperate need of another person can sometimes override our schedule.
It's the difference between a rigid plan and a responsive love.
That's a great way to put it. If Jesus had turned the boat around, he would have preserved his boundaries perfectly, but he would have violated his nature as the shepherd.
And you can't be a shepherd only when it fits your Google Calendar.
Exactly. The wolf doesn't check your schedule. The sheep don't scatter by appointment. The nature of the role is that you are on call for the crisis.
That's a heavy thought. It moves leadership out of the realm of just management and into the realm of sacrifice.
Which is where Mark is taking the entire gospel story. This is a micro version of the cross, isn't it? Giving up his time, his energy, his body for the sheep.
So as we look at this whole passage, we've gone from a failed vacation to this profound statement on what it means to lead and what it means to love.
And crucially, what it means to see.
To see. Let's land on that. Because, we aren't Jesus. We can't feed 5,000 people with a couple of fish, but we all face interruptions.
Every single day.
So what's the big takeaway for you listening to this, just trying to get through your day when things go off the rails?
I think it's about asking that diagnostic question when the interruption happens, when the plans fall apart, when the child wakes up the second you lie down. What is your gut reaction? Your splanchna.
Is it just, how dare you take my time?
Or can you pause, even for a split second, and ask, why is this person running? What's the need driving this behavior?
Seeing the sheep behind the annoyance.
That's it. So often, the people who are interrupting us are acting out of a place of shepherdless panic. They're anxious, they're scared.
And if we can see that anxiety instead of just the inconvenience, it might change everything about how we respond.
It doesn't mean you never take a break, but it means you don't view people primarily as obstacles to your comfort. You see them as people who might be lost.
It turns the interruption into a connection.
It turns the interruption into an opportunity. The desolate place they were looking for wasn't the beach. It became the teaching moment. They found their sanctuary in the interaction, not in the isolation.
That's a profound shift. The sanctuary isn't always the quiet room. Sometimes it's the connection right in front of you.
Beautifully said.
So here's the thought I want to leave with you today. We all have our boats, our escape routes we're trying to take. The next time someone demands your time, or is waiting on the shore when you just want to be alone,
Oh, look at their face.
ask yourself, am I seeing an interruption that's here to steal my time? Or am I seeing a sheep without a shepherd? Because how you answer that question defines the kind of human you're going to be in that moment.
And that is the hardest and most important work there is.
It really is. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us.
Always a pleasure.
Take care.